organization. Now we can compete in states like Alaska, Colorado, and Virginia, where no Democratic presidential candidate has had a serious chance to compete in many years. But to make this happen, each one of us has to be a leader in our own communities. That's why I'm calling on you at this important moment to help build the movement for change. If you haven't signed up as a volunteer already, please do it today. And if you're already an active volunteer, take a moment today to reach out to people you know and ask them to join us. I want to thank you again for making me feel so welcome as the newest member of this team. Americans are hungry. They're hungry for change, and they're counting on us. So let's bring about the change this country needs. I tell you, it's not so much what I heard in the Republican convention when you heard John speak last night, or not so much what I heard when I heard part of what the governor had to say, the vice presidential candidate. It's what I didn't hear. The silence of the Republican Party was deafening. It was deafening on jobs, on health care, on environment, on all the things that matter to the people in the neighborhoods I grew up in. Deafening. Ladies and gentlemen, their America is not the America I live in. They see something different than I see. Ladies and gentlemen, literally, those of you, I can't swear to this because I didn't see every bit of every speech, but I asked my staff to check. Do any of you recall either candidate on the Republican ticket utter the phrase middle class? Did any of you hear them utter the phrase health care and how we're going to help?
Okay, Joe Biden, Langhorne, Pennsylvania.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Davis, John's campaign manager, said 2 days at the convention, and I heard this. He said, this election is not about issues. That's what he said. And everything I saw at the convention demonstrated that. It was about how well placed, and boy, she is good, how a left jab can be stuck pretty nice. It's about how Barack Obama is such a bad guy. It's about how, in fact, they got great quips. Man, they were like the kids, you know, when you went to school and you were very proud of the new belt you had or the shoes you had, and there was always one kid in the class that said, oh, are they your brothers? Remember that kid? That's what this reminded me of. Oh, I love your dress. Was that your mother's? You know what I'm talking about. What do you talk about when you have nothing to say? What do you talk about when you cannot explain the last 8 years of failure? What do you talk about? What do you talk about? You talk about the other guy. Look, I don't have to. Remember what Harry Truman said, give him hell, Joe? Remember what Harry Truman? I wasn't around when Harry Truman was around. But I remember my grandfather saying, when they yelled at Harry Truman, give him hell, Harry, he yelled back, I'm not going to give him hell, I'm going to tell them the truth, and they're going to think it's hell. Senator McCain's running mate. Now, this is serious stuff I'm about to say, and it's disappointing. And I hope it was just a slip in her part and she doesn't really mean it. But she said, it was reported she said, that she likes to visit, quote, pro-American parts of the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I, like your senators and governor, have been all over this great land. I've never been to a state that hasn't sent its sons and daughters to serve and die for this country. Right here in New Mexico right now, there are 1,400 Mexican sons and daughters, New Mexico sons and daughters, deployed in Afghanistan and Iraq. 36 of them have already given their lives for this country. Folks, It doesn't matter where you live. We all love this country, and I hope it gets through. We all love this country. Folks, one of the reasons why Barack and I are running is that we know how damaging the politics of division that continues to be practiced by the McCain campaign, how damaging this policy of division has been for Americans over the last decade or more. It's time to put this behind us. Folks, it is not a corny thing, it's real. We are one nation, under God, indivisible. We are all patriotic. We all love our country in every part of this nation. And I'm tired. I am tired of the implications about patriotism. Folks, I watched him reach out to Dick Lugar, who was an expert on arms control, an expert on dealing with nuclear weapons, who written the book, the Nunn-Lugar legislation, to draw down nuclear weapons. And I watched him, before I knew it, reach out to Dick Lugar, and Dick said, should I work? I said, absolutely work him. You know what they did? Lugar and Obama passed legislation that makes it a heck of a lot harder for terrorists to get their hands on nuclear weapons. I watched that happen. I watched him reach across the aisle to one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, Doc Coburn from Oklahoma, one of the really hard right guys in the Senate, but an honorable man. I watched Barack Obama go to him, reach out his hand and say, look, I agree with you about transparency in government and spending. And so what happened? Coburn and Obama put together, for the first time in American history, you can go online and find out how every dollar's being spent by your federal government. That was Barack Obama. That was conservative Coburn. He reached across the aisle. So, folks, you want somebody who has a history of being bipartisan. You want somebody who's going to get things done. Barack Obama will do it. And let me speak just a moment about taxes. The only thing I did here at the Republican convention is a bunch of malarkey about how we're going to raise taxes. Let's just look at the facts. You know, there used to be a program 100 years ago, in my day when I was a kid, that Walter Brennan was on. Remember that actor Walter Brennan? He used to say, you don't remember, but some of you do. Some of you guys do in here, okay? And he used to say, ain't brag, ma'am, just fact. Let's just look at the facts. We are going to cut taxes for 95% of the American people who draw a paycheck. That is a fact. That is a fact. We're going to lower the amount of money you pay and your taxes, your FICA tax. 95% of the American people who draw a paycheck are going to get a tax cut. Compare that to John. John's going to give a $200 billion tax cut to corporations, $200 billion a year, $4 billion just to go to ExxonMobil and the oil companies. Why? Because they only have made $600 billion in profit since 2000, and they need incentives to go out there and find more oil. God love them, as my mother would say. God love them. Imagine what we can do with $4 billion a year instead of going down that rat hole. Imagine what we could do if we were investing in new renewable energy technology. Imagine what we can do if we were investing in those things. John has one middle-class tax cut. The only problem is it leaves out 100 million families. Small problem.